Too many questions in paradise.
Good evening, everybody. We are going to go live in another 2 minutes. Can you close the door? Can I request ICD? Is she here? Sanjita? Sharat? Nishit? Come and escort our guests to the stage. YouTube. Good evening, everybody. A warm welcome to our panelists this evening, Senani, Krupakar, and our moderators, Chaduranga, Kanntharaj, and Dinesh. I'm Shubha Sanjayars. The chairperson of the Mysuru Literature Festival. Today, this is our hybrid session. That means we are having it here in the hall, as well as we are going live on YouTube and Facebook. A warm welcome to our viewers on Facebook and YouTube. Sit back and enjoy the evening. A warm welcome to all of you again. Over to Rashmi.
Krupakar and Senani.
And Facebook.
A walk on
A
the
warm
Wildside.
welcome to our viewers.
Krupakar
A warm welcome to
Senani
all
are
of
the
you
dynamic
again.
duo of
Over to
Mysore,
Rashmi.
who over the decades have done many jaw-dropping adventures in their multifaceted actions in various fields.
And
A
Facebook.
walk They are
warm
wildlife
welcome to our viewers.
filmmakers,
A warm
wildlife
welcome to all
consultants,
of you.
photographers,
Over to
serious
Rashmi.
students of natural history, and highly committed conservationists. They have done exemplary commissioned work for National Geographic, Wildlife, BBC, Animal Planet, Discovery, photographers, art. Serious students' films have won awards and high recognition all over the world. They have done exemplary commissioned work, however, for National Geographic, Wildlife, BBC, Animal Planet, Discovery, photographers, Bristol for their serious films have won awards and wild dogs conservation all over the world. They have done exemplary commissioned work, however, for National Geographic, BBC, Best of Wildlife, Wildlife, Discovery, winners for their special jury award have won awards and wild dog conservation all over the world. They have done many commissioned work, however, for National Geographic, based on Best of Wildlife, all Discovery, winners for their special jury award have won for their wild dog conservation all over the world. They have done many have set up Namasanga based on Best of Wildlife, all Discovery, winners for their special jury award for their wild dog conservation all over the world. Organization which has many have set up housing Namasanga based on Best of Wildlife, all Discovery, winners for their special jury award for their wild dog of the habitat organization which has already have set up all housing based on Best of Wildlife, all Discovery, winners for their special jury award for their wild dog of the habitat organization which has already have set up all housing based on Best of Wildlife, all Discovery, winners for their special jury award for their wild dog of the habitat organization which has already have set up all housing based on Best of Wildlife, all Discovery, winners for their special jury award for their wild dog of the habitat organization which has already have set up all housing based on Best of Wildlife, all Discovery, winners for their special jury award for their wild dog of the habitat organization which has already have set up all housing based on Best of Wildlife, all Discovery, winners for their special jury award for their wild dog of the habitat organization.
Good evening, everyone. I have known Krupakar and Senani for the last 30 years. And since Krupakar was my neighbor and Senani just lived down the street, Krupakar and Senani used to regularly be photographing in Mudumalai forests. So as youngsters, way back maybe I would say about 25, 26 years ago, we used to always wait in the evening when they return to hear about their amazing stories from Mudumalai especially, and some of those stories still intrigue me. It is my pleasure to be conversing with them for the Mysore Literary Festival. I'll get cracking straight away, and to begin with, being a nature enthusiast, I have a basic question for you. When you started your research on wild dogs, with a long-term plan to make films on them during the mid-90s, many of my friends used to ask me, why wild dogs, why dholes? In fact, even I was quite surprised when you picked this particular subject, when most scientists and filmmakers were after charismatic or highly endangered species like the tiger, leopard, elephant, even the king cobra. Generally, the so-called umbrella species or keystone species. Even I have a lot of fascination for bull elephants and, of course, leopards. But you went after those, wild dogs. Why did you choose wild dogs? Any reason in particular for dhole?
Hello. Good evening. You asked me something which is
Actually, honestly, even we wonder why wild dogs. Why did we even spend half of our life behind these creatures? But again, okay, they are truly wild. They have evolved like any other predators. And why not? But still, why wild dogs? If I try to answer that in one or two sentences, I might look ridiculously stupid and very impractical. So sometime for city people, I might even look insane. Okay, then if I try to explain in detail, I might start something like, you see, actually, wild dogs are not wild dogs. So if I start like that, I might wander all over, from babblers to blind moles to wolves to wild dogs, because we have spent a lot of time behind them. And they are fantastic social animals, but still, end of it all, when I stop, if I stop, you might again ask me, or you might start thinking, this fellow is seriously insane. So it's a tricky question. But sometimes, many incidents and experiences can trick your mind and push you in a direction where, you'll not have enough reasons to justify. So I really don't want to really expand on this question. So I'll try to tell you one small story about an incident which happened early in our wildlife career. That was almost 30 years ago, and very early days in the wilderness for us. We were in a wonderland in the foothills of Nilgiri Mountains. Moya River used to meander through, and the forest department had actually given us a room very near to the river. But it had no water connection. We had to go down to the river for everything. So like a ritual, every day in the morning, very early, we would go down to the river. That sight is still there in my mind, very fresh. It is such beautiful forest patch. Even after traveling now, we have traveled extensively, we have filmed all over the world, but that patch still remains in our mind. It's such a beautiful, beautiful place. ದೊಡ್ಡ ಮತ್ತಿ ಮರಗಳು, ಹ್ಯೂಜ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಬೂ, ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಜೈಂಟ್ ಸ್ಕ್ವಿಲ್ಸ್ ಒಂದು 50-60 ಅಡಿ ಎತ್ತರದಲ್ಲಿ ಜಂಪ್ ಹೊಡಿತಾರೋ. ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ರಾಕೆಟಲ್ ಡ್ರ್ಯಾಂಗೂಸ್ ವುಡ್ ಬಿ ಕಾಲಿಂಗ್, and with their long tail they'll be swinging through the branches. It was so beautiful sight. So many a time we used to also see wild elephants on the other side of the river. We would see gaur sometime. One early winter morning, we were just coming back from the river. The sun rays were just about penetrating the mist, and the backlit misty forest was simply fantastic. Suddenly we heard a sound coming towards us. Thud, thud, thud. We were quite naive and pretty new to the forest, so we were not sure what it was. We stood our ground because there was a river in between. Otherwise we would run away. And then after some time we saw a stag, a beautiful stag in velvet, was popping out of the bushes and landing on the soft ground like a that. It was like slow motion. It was tired, it was breathing heavily, and we could see the fear in its eyes. And then it came right up to the river, took a left turn, and suddenly it took off again with higher speed and just vanished into the forest. Okay, that was good enough a beginning for us. So it's just about walking back and suddenly saw something, red ball of fire popping out from everywhere. Tuck, 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 tuck. We could not figure out what it was. We were very inexperienced and almost green, as they call it in racing terms. So they were just popping up from everywhere. Then we stood our ground, just saw suddenly one of the wild dogs appeared in the open. Its coat was wet with dew and it was backlit, in the backlit forest. It was one of the most amazing sights. I can just see it like this. So then it came right up to the river, took a deep breath and ran away where the cheetah had gone. So we were just mesmerized by the whole thing. We were coming back. As we were walking up from the river, we saw two tribal people running past us. We didn't know what it was. So we tried to talk to them. They did not even turn and smile. They were all very gentle, nice people. We knew everybody there. So they did not even smile. They were in a hurry. So we walked another 50 meters. There was another forester, fat guy, who was running down with a machete in his hand and a bag. Hey, where are you going? We asked. Hey, did you not hear? The cheetah was killed by the wild dogs. We didn't know what he heard, and we were still not familiar with those forest sounds. But still, if the wild dogs have made a kill, why are all these guys rushing? But at that age, if the story is not complete, the curiosity would just kill us. So we followed them. We tried to follow that fellow. That fat guy jumped over the rocks and crossed the river like langur. We could not. We were very young and super fit. But then we slipped over the rocks, went into the river, crossed the river, took another path, and then found their tracks, followed their tracks, and we came to a place where there were many people, and they were all doing something, and there was some scuffle, and we realized that they were trying to share something, and there was some. So in another 2-3 minutes, they were all quarreling in a very low tone, and within 2-3 minutes, they were all gone. And just the blood stains everywhere on the grass. It took almost 2-3 minutes for us to realize that the cheetah is killed by the wild dogs, and these people have stolen it and ran away. We didn't know where the dogs have gone. So we're looking around, and we went. It's a very natural process to go behind a big tree. So we went behind a big tree. Suddenly, one wild dog popped up from around 50 meters from us. So it came straight to where the kill was. It didn't find the kill. It was already agitated. A lot of human smell was there. We could see only blood trails, but I'm sure the wild dog was reading much more. He knew the whole story, I think. He was getting all the human smell, everything. But he was going around and round and round, and then another 4 or 5 dogs popped up, and they were all doing the same thing, very agitated, very nervous. Then from the left of us, very near to us, almost 25, 30 feet from us, suddenly we heard something. We turned, and very small pups came running out to that scene, followed by the mother. We saw the mother from a very close range. We knew she had not eaten for almost 24 hours, 30 hours. Her mother was the belly was completely flat. And these pups were very excited. Even they were extremely hungry and very excited by the smell of the blood. They all ran to that place, and the mother led them and went there straight. She knew something has gone wrong. She looked around at the other dogs and started going in round and round with the nose right on the ground. So we were completely stunned. We didn't know the story of wild dogs at that time. Again, if I get into wild dog stories, the session will be over. So I'll not get into the details, just the incident. And then one of the sub-adult male accidentally came very near to us from almost behind and saw us and gave an alarm call. A very strange call which we had never heard before. Suddenly all of them looked at us, including the pups. That was it, we were gone. Even now we cannot forget the accusing eyes of the adults. They were almost holding us responsible for all the atrocities humans have created, on them for centuries. So we could not tell them that we are not the culprits. So we became the advocates of wild dogs for life. I think you got the answer. Thank you.
Well, beautiful, Senani. And that was a good enough reason for me to get stuck with these two guys till date. I have a few more questions on this, but as this is a literary fest, I shall hand it over to Dinesh. Dinesh, please go ahead.
Thank you, Kanntharaj. ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಈ ದಿನದ ಅತಿಥಿಗಳು ಕೃಪಕರ ಸೇನಾನಿ. ಅವ್ರ ಪರಿಚಯ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಇವರ ಮೂಲ ಬರವಣಿಗೆ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲೇ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಭಾಷಣೆಯೂ ಸಹ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ನಾನು ಇವರ ಲೇಖನಗಳಿಗೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಸೀಮಿತ ಸಂಭಾಷಣೆ ನಡೆಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಕೃಪಕರ್ ಅವರೇ, ಕನ್ನಡ ಸಾಹಿತ್ಯ ಅಕಾಡೆಮಿ ಪ್ರಶಸ್ತಿ ಪಡೆದ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೀವಜಾಲದ ಒಂದು ಅಧ್ಯಾಯ ವಾಲ್ಪರೈ ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ತಂದ ದುರಂತ. ಇದು ಯೂನಿವರ್ಸಿಟಿಲಿ ಸಿಲೆಬಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಲಕ್ಷಾಂತರ PUC ಮಕ್ಕಳು ಪ್ರತಿ ವರ್ಷ ಓದ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ನಾನು ಕ್ವಶನ್ನ ಎಲಾಬರೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಲ್ಲ. ಸರ್, ಈ ಕಥೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಜ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಥ್ರಶ್ ಮತ್ತು ಲೈನ್ ಟೈಲ್ಡ್ ಮೆಕ್ಯಾಕ್ ಎಂಬ ಒಂದು ಪಕ್ಷಿ ಮತ್ತು ಪ್ರಾಣಿನ ನೀವು ಸಿಂಬಾಲಿಕ್ ಆಗಿ ಬಳಸಿದ್ದೀರ. ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ವಿವರ ಕೊಡಿ.
ಎಗೇನ್ ಇದು ನಾನು ಇಡೀ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಸೆನಾನಿ ಥರದ ಸೆಷನ್ ಮುಗಿದೋಗ್ಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ.
ಸರ್, ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ನಾವು ಕೇಳಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದಿರೋದೇ ಕತೆ. ಇನ್ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಐ ಗಾಟ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್ ಇನ್ ಸೆನಾನಿಸ್ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ.
ಓಕೆ, ಇದು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ ಇದು ಇಮ್ಯಾಜಿನರಿ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಇದು ವಾಲ್ಪಾರೆ ಬಹುಶಃ ತುಂಬ ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಕೊಯಂಬತ್ತೂರಿಂದ ಅಬೌಟ್ 150 ಕಿಲೋಮೀಟರ್ಸ್ ಅವೇ ಫ್ರಮ್ ಕೊಯಂಬತ್ತೂರು. ನಾವು ಅರೌಂಡ್ 25-30 ಇಯರ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ ಒಂದು BBC ಕನ್ಸಲ್ಟೆಂಟಾಗಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ ನಾನು, ಸೆನಾನಿ. ಅವಾಗ ಅದು ಈ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಎಮರ್ಜ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತಂತ. ಸೊ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ಏನಂದರೆ, ಪ್ರೀ ಇಂಡಿಪೆಂಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬ ಕಾರ್ಮೆಲ್ ಮಾರ್ಷ್ ಅಂತ ಒಬ್ಬ ಬ್ರಿಟಿಷ್, ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ವೈಟ್ಸ್ದು ಒಂದು ನೇಚರ್ ಇದೆ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೋರಿಂಗ್. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋದ್ರೂ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅದು ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಂಕ್ಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅನ್ಸುತ್ತೆ ನನಗೆ. ಸೊ ಕೊಯಂಬತ್ತೂರಿಂದ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ, ಯಾವ್ಯಾವುದೋ ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ಗಳಿದ್ದಾವಲ್ವ ಎಲ್ಲ ನೋಡೋಣ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಅವನು ಒಂದು ಜಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋದಾಗ ಒಂದು ಟ್ರೈಬ್ಸ್ ಜೊತೆ ಒಂದು ಸಂಪರ್ಕ ಬೆಳೆಸ್ಕೊತಾನೆ. ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಅಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಭಾಳ ಥಿಕ್ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇದೆ, ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಹೋಗೋಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗದೆ ಇರೋಂಥದ್ದು ವಾಲ್ಪರೆ ಅಂತ. ನಮಗೂ ಹೋಗೋಕ್ಕೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಹತ್ರ, ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ನಮಗೂ ಸತ್ತ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗೋಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿಯವರೇ ಟ್ರೈಬ್ಸು ತಿಂಗಳಿಗೊಂದ್ಸಲ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ. ಏನಾದರೂ ಜೇನು ಮಾರಿ ಇನ್ನೇನಾದರೂ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ತೊಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ, ನೀ ಕಾಯ್ಬೇಕಂತ. ಇವನು ಕಾಯ್ತಾನೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು. ಮತ್ತೆ ಇವನು ಹೋದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಅದು ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಎಷ್ಟು ಡೆನ್ಸ್ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಅವನು ಕಳೆದೋಗ್ತಾನೆ, ಅವ್ರ ಜೊತೆ ಹೋಗೋ ಕಳೆದೋಗ್ತಾನೆ. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಟೈಮ್ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಟ್ರೈಬಲ್ಸ್ದು ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಉಳಿತಾನೆ ಅವನು. ಓಕೆ, ಉಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಮೇಲೆ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಅದು ಫ್ಯಾಸಿನೇಟ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಬೇಡ, ಆ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟೇ ಫ್ಯಾಸಿನೇಟ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಮೋರಲ್ಲೆಸ್ ಅನ್ಟಚ್ಡ್ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಅದು. ಹೋಲ್ ಲೈಫ್ ಭಾಳ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಹೌದಾ? ಓಕೆ. ಓಕೆ. ಸೊ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಟೈಮ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಅವನು ಓಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟು ಬ್ಯೂಟಿಫುಲ್ ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಲ್ಲೇ ನಾನು ಸೆಟ್ಲ್ ಆದರೆ ಹೆಂಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಐಡಿಯಾ ಮಾಡಿ, ಆವಾಗ ಇಂಡಿಯಾಗೆ ಟೀ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಅವನು ಕೆಲವು ಟೀ ಗಿಡಗಳನ್ನ ತಗೊಂಬಂದು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೆಡ್ತಾನೆ. ಅದು ಅನ್ಬಿಲೀವಬಲ್ ರೆಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಅವನಿಗೆ, ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಆ ಗ್ರೋತ್ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಭಾಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಸೂಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಆ ಟೀ ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಟೀ ಎಷ್ಟು ಎಂಕರೇಜಿಂಗ್ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಬಂದಿದ್ದು ಓಕೆ ಈಗ ನಮ್ಮದು ಒಂದು ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಇದು ನಮಗೆ ಟೀ ಬೆಳೆಯೋದು, ಟೀ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದಾಗಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಜನ್ರೇಷನ್, ಈ ಥರ ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್ ಆಗಿ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್, ನಥಿಂಗ್ ರಾಂಗ್. ಬಟ್ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಇದು ತುಂಬ ಇಂಡಸ್ಟ್ರಿಗಳು ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಓಡಿ ಬರ್ತಾರೆ ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದಟ್ ಸಕ್ಸಸ್ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಭಾಳ ಫೇವರಬಲ್ ಕಂಡೀಷನ್ ಫಾರ್ ಟೀ ಅಂತ. ಅಂದರೆ ಈಗ ನಾವಿರೋ ಟಾಟಾ ಬಿರ್ಲಾ ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಎಂಟ್ರ್ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ. ಸೊ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿದ ಟೈಮಿಗೆ ದಿಸ್ ವಾಸ್ 1993. ನಾವು ಹೋದಾಗ ಇದು ಬರೀ ಏನಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಈಗ ನಾನೇನು ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಷನ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೆ, ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಟೀ ಗಾರ್ಡನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಸಮುದ್ರದ ಥರ, ನೋ ಟ್ರೇಸ್ ಎನಿವೇರ್. ಬಹುಶಃ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಮೂನಾರಿಗೆ ಟ್ರಿಪ್ ಹೋಗಿರ್ತೀರಲ್ಲ, ವೆರಿ ಸಿಮಿಲರ್. ಮೂನಾರು ಅದೇ ಥರ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು ಈಗ ಮೂನಾರ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ನಮಗೆ ಬೆಸ್ಟ್ ನಿಮಗೆ ರಜಾ ದಿನ ಕಳೆಯೋಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗೋ ಜಾಗಗಳಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ನಮಗೆ ಅದನ್ನು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಇದನ್ನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ಲೋರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಾದಾಗ ನಮಗೆ ಒಂದು ಫೀಲ್ ಆಯ್ತು. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸೈಡಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣದು ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ಯಾಚ್ ಉಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿತ್ತು, ಬ್ರೋಕನ್ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್. ಯಾಕೆ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಅದು ಯಾರ್ದೋ ಒಬ್ಬ ಪ್ರೈವೇಟ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್. ಅದ್ರ ಒಳಗಡೆ ಈ ಲಯನ್ ಟೈಲ್ ಮೆಕಾಕ್ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಪೀಸಿ ಇದೆ, ಹೈಲಿ ಎಂಡೇಂಜರ್ಡ್ ಸ್ಪೀಸಿ, ಅಂದರೆ ಎಂಡೆಮಿಕ್ ಟು ವೆಸ್ಟರ್ನ್ ಘಾಟ್ಸ್. ಇದು ಒಂದೇ ಒಂದು ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಇತ್ತದು. ಟ್ರಾಜಿಡಿ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಆ ಗ್ರೂಪು ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಹೋಗಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತಿರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಟೀ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟೇಶನ್ ಸುತ್ತಲೂ, ಕನ್ಫೈನ್ ಟು ಒನ್ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಪ್ಯಾಚ್. ಅವುಗಳನ್ನ ಲೈಫನ್ನು ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಂಥದ್ದು ಏನೂ ಇದೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ನಾವು ನೋಡಿದಾಗ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಅವುಗಳಿಗೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ರಸ್ತೆ ದಾಟಕ್ಕೆ ಬರ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಯಾಕಂತಂದರೆ ಅವ್ರ ಕೆನಾಪಿಲಿ ಬದುಕೋಂಥದ್ದು, ಎವರ್ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕೆನಾಪಿಯಿಂದ ಕೆನಾಪಿಗೆ ಓಡಾಡೋದು. ನಾವು ಹೋದಾಗ ರೋಡ್ ಕ್ರಾಸ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು, ಇಳಿದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಮರ ಹತ್ಬೇಕಲ್ಲ. ನಮಗೆ ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಭಾಳ ವಿ ಫೆಲ್ಟ್ ರಿಯಲಿ ಬ್ಯಾಡ್ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ ನೋಡಿ. ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ನಾನು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಡೆ ಹೋದ್ವಿ. ಅದೇ ಟೈಮಿಗೆ ಸಮ್ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ವಿತ್ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟ್, ಟೀ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಬಿದ್ದಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಟೀ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಪಟ್ಟೆ ಲಾಸಲ್ಲಿ ನಡೀತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಲೇಬರ್ಸಿಗೆ ಪೇಮೆಂಟ್ ಕೊಡೋಕ್ಕಾಗ್ತಾ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ ಜನಕ್ಕೆ. ಸೊ ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಕೆಂಪು ಬಾವುಟ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆ ಫುಲ್ ಪ್ರೊಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರು ಒಂದು ಸೈಡ್. ಆಮೇಲೆ ವಾಪಸ್ ನಾವು ಹೋಟೆಲಿಗೆ ಬಂದು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ವಿ. ಹೋಟೆಲಿಗೆ ಬಂದು ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಆ ಹೋಟೆಲ್ ಪಕ್ಕನೇ ವೆರಿ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಹೋಟೆಲ್, ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್, ಒಂದು ಬ್ಯೂಟಿಫುಲ್ ಎವರ್ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟು ಮತ್ತು ಎವರ್ಗ್ರೀನ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸಮ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಯ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಡೆಸ್ಟಿಯಸಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಮಲ್ಬಾರ್ ವಿಸ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಥ್ರಶ್ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಹಕ್ಕಿ ಕೇಳಿರ್ಬೋದು. ಬಹುಶಃ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ಬರ್ಡ್ಸಲ್ಲೇ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಫೈನೆಸ್ಟ್ ಸಾಂಗ್ಸ್ಟರ್ಸ್ ಅದು. ನೀವು ಬಹುಶಃ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಮಲ್ನಾಡ್ ಅಥವಾ ವಾಟ್ ಎವರ್ ಆ ಏರಿಯಾಯಿಂದ ಬಂದಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತೆ, ನೀವು ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆ ನೀವು ಅಲ್ರಾಮ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೇಬೇಕಾಗಲ್ಲ ಮನೇಲಿ. ನಿಮಗೆ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಸಾಂಗ್, ಅಂದರೆ ನಾಟ್ ಒನ್ ಕಾಲ್, ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಒಂದು 10 ನಿಮಿಷಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅದರದ್ದು ಹ್ಯಾಬಿಟೇಟ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್ಸ್ ಭಾಳ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ, ಇನ್ನು ಪಲ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಗದೆ ಪ್ಯೂರ್ ಆಗಿರೋ ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್ಸ್ ಇದಾವಲ್ಲ, ಅದ್ರ ಪಕ್ಕ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಅದ್ರದ್ದು ಫುಡ್ ಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲೇ. ನಮಗೆ ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆ ಭಾಳ ಖುಷಿ ಆಯಿತು, ಅರೆ ಇಷ್ಟು ವರ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ನಲ್ಲೂ ಇದು ಹಿಂಗೆ ಎಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಆಡ್ತಾ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ಹುಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಾನು ಸೆನಾನಿ ಹೋದ್ವಿ. ಅದು ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ ಆ ಊರು ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮು ಈಗ ಕೊಚ್ಚೆ ಥರ ಆಗಿದೆ. ನೀವು ಬ್ಯಾಂಗ್ಳೂರ್ ಎಂಟ್ರೆನ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡ್ತೀರಲ್ಲ, ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಕೆಂಗೇರಿ ಫಾಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ ನಾವು. ಓಕೆ ಓಕೆ ವೆರಿ ಸಿಮಿಲರ್ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್. ಅದರೊಳಗೆ ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹಾಡ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು ನಮಗೆ ಆ ಮಲ್ಬಾರ್ ವಿಸ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಥ್ರಶ್ದು ಒರಿಜಿನಲ್ ಹ್ಯಾಬಿಟೇಟ್, ಅದು ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಬದುಕುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿದ್ದೀವಲ್ಲ, ಏನು ದುರಂತ ಇದು ಅಂತ ನಮಗೆ ವಿ ಫೆಲ್ಟ್ ರಿಯಲಿ ಬ್ಯಾಡ್. ಸೊ ನಾವು ನಾನಲ್ಲಿ LTM ಅನ್ನಾಗಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಮಲ್ಬಾರ್ ವಿಜ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಥ್ರಶನ್ನು ನೀವು ಆ ಥರ ಸಿಂಬಾಲಿಕ್ ಅಥವಾ ಮೆಟಾಫರ್ ಅಂತ ನೀವು ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಬಹುಶಃ ನನ್ನ ಅಭ್ಯಂತರ ಏನಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ನಾವು ಅದು ಬರ್ತಿದ್ದು ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ಎ ಸ್ಪಾಂಟೇನಿಯಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್. ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೋಗೋ ಒಂದು ಇದಿದ್ದಾವಲ್ಲ, ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ವಿಷನ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲೇನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಡೆವಲಪ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಇಮಿಡಿಯೇಟ್ ರಸ್ತೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ಈ ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರು ಭಾಳ ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ವಿಷನ್, ಹಾಗಲ್ಲ. ವಿಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತಂದರೆ ನಮಗೆ ಹಂಡ್ರೆಡ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಇಯರ್ಸ್. ಈಗ ಗಾಂಧಿ ಫಿಲಾಸಫಿ ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲೈವ್. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ನಾನು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಪ್ಯಾರಿಸಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಟೈಮ್ ಓಡಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರಬೇಕಾದಾಗ ಒಂದು ಬುಕ್ ಶಾಪಲ್ಲಿ, ಮ್ಯಾಗಝೈನ್ ಶಾಪಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಲೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಮ್ಯಾಗಝೈನ್ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಗಾಂಧಿ ಕವರ್ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಇತ್ತು. ಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಡಿಸ್ಕಸಿಂಗ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಗಾಂಧಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಇವು ತುಂಬ ಟೈಮ್ ಉಳಿಯುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಸೊ ಆ ಥರ ವಿಷನ್ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ನಾವು ಏನು ಎಡವಟ್ಟು ಮಾಡ್ಕೊತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ, ಫ್ಯೂಚರ್ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಅಂತ ನನಗನ್ಸಿದ್ದು. ಸೊ ಹಾನೆಸ್ಟಾಗಿ ಆ ಮೂಮೆಂಟಲ್ಲಿ ಅನಿಸಿದ್ದು ಬರೆದಿದ್ದದು. ಇದಿಷ್ಟು ದಿನೇಶ್. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು
ಸರ್. ಅದು ಭಾಳ ಅಪ್ರೋಪ್ರಿಯೇಟಾಗಿ ಇದೆ. ವಿಜ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಥ್ರಶ್ ಆಗಲಿ, ಲಯನ್ ಟೈಲ್ ಮೆಕಾಕ್ ಆಗಲಿ, ಈ ಸ್ಟೋರಿಗೆ ಸೆನಾನಿಯವರೇ, ಅಭಿವೃದ್ಧಿ ಹೆಸರಿನಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಈ ದಿನ ಪಶ್ಚಿಮ ಘಟ್ಟಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ನಡೀತಿರೋ ಅತ್ಯಾಚಾರನ ನಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಗಮನಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಹೀಗೆ ಮುಂದುವರೆದ್ರೆ ಮುಂದೆ ಪಶ್ಚಿಮ ಘಟ್ಟಗಳಿಂದ ಉದಯಿಸಿ ಹರಿಯುವ ನದಿಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ಅವಲಂಬಿತವಾಗಿರೋ ನಮ್ಮ ದಕ್ಷಿಣ ಭಾರತದ ಭವಿಷ್ಯ ಏನಾಗಬಹುದು?
ವಿಜ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಥ್ರಶ್ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಕೂಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಸಲೀಮಲಿ ಕೇಳಿದಾರಲ್ಲ, ಸಲೀಮಲಿ ಒಂದು ಲೈನಲ್ಲಿ ಬರೀತಾರೆ, ಅದು ಲೇಜಿ ಸ್ಕೂಲ್ ಬಾಯ್ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಈವನ್ ಟುಡೇ ನನ್ನ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ ಒಬ್ಬಂದು ಕಾಲಟೂನಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಕೂಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈಗ ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅದು. ಅಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾವ್ದು ಫ್ಯಾಸಿನೇಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾಯಿತ್ತು ಅದು ಕಾಲರ್ ಟ್ಯೂನಾಗಿ ಉಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದೆ. ಅಂದರೆ ಇಟ್ ಸಿಂಬಾಲಿಕಾಗಿ ಉಳ್ಕೋತಾ ಇದೆ. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅವರ್ ಫ್ಯೂಚರ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ. ವಿ ನೀಡ್ ಟು ಥಿಂಕ್ ಆಫ್, ಈಗ ಒಂದು ವಿ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಅರ್ತ್ ಇಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್, ಆರ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಅರ್ತ್ಸ್ ವರ್ಕಿಂಗ್ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್. You just imagine a huge spherical web, a web in 3 dimensions, spherical web with hundreds of thousands of connections. See, one bird is a big thing. Like, adu ಆ ಲೆವೆಲಿಗೆ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅಂದರೆ we will have already destroyed the microhabitat and the microorganisms of that area. ಭಾಳ ವರ್ಷಗಳಿಂದ ಅದು ಡಿಗ್ರೇಡ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಬಂದು ಈ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಆ್ಯನಿಮಲ್ಸಿಗೆ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ವೆನ್ ವಿ ಸಿ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಮೀನ್ಸ್ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಕಟ್. ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಅಂಡರ್ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಇಸ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಪಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಸ್ಟ್ರಿಂಗ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಸ್ಪಿಯರ್. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ ಆರ್, ಫಾರ್ ಎ ರೈಟರ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಸಿಂಬಾಲಿಕ್ ಥಿಂಗ್, ಬಟ್ ಇನ್ ಲೈಫ್ you know what can go wrong? Like the bird which is singing in the purest of streams is today singing in Kochagundili. If it is singing, adu bala beautiful agi bare haadutadu. If you had experienced it, you would feel for it. ನನ್ನ ಗಾಳಿಗೆ ಓದಿರ್ತಿದ್ದೆ. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ ಎಲಾಬ್ರೇಟ್ ವಿಜ್ಲಿಂಗ್. ಅದು ಭಾಳ ವಿಜ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಥ್ರಶ್ ಅಂತಲೇ ಅದರ ಹೆಸರು. ಸಿ, ಈ LTMs ಕೂಡ, ಲಯನ್ ಟೈಲ್ಡ್ ಮೆಕಾಕ್ಸ್ ಕೂಡ ಕ್ಯಾನಪಿ ಆ್ಯನಿಮಲ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲ ಅವು. ಇಫ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಕಮಿಂಗ್ ಡೌನ್ ಟು ದ ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ಟು ಕ್ರಾಸ್ ಸರ್ಟನ್ ಬ್ಯಾರಿಯರ್ಸ್, ವಿ ಆರ್ ಟೆರಿಬಲಿ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ರಾಂಗ್ ಸಮ್ವೇರ್. If the development is not inclusive of environment, we are running into serious trouble. You just imagine, you're making assets for the future generation, right? So we are all running a rat race, and we are all trying to make more and more assets for the younger generation. End of the day, if you leave them an atmosphere horribly gone wrong atmosphere and no water, or completely polluted water and polluted air and polluted sea, then what is the value of your asset? Just think about it. The whole thought process collapse. See, Western Ghat, you might know that most of our Deccan Plateau era, every bit of water, including groundwater, is connected to somewhere, directly or indirectly connected to Western Ghats. We have already opened up a lot of Eastern Ghat areas for mining. The floodgates will open in another couple of years. Western Ghats will be opened up for mining. It's all fine. Governments might make 10,000 crores or 100,000 crores immediately, because we are almost the governments are reaching bankruptcy stage, so we desperately need money. So we might make few 100,000 crores in the next 10-15 years. And then imagine, see, Western Ghat, what Krupa was talking about, the grassland and Shola grasslands, upper reaches of Western Ghat, they are like huge sponge. You all know it, I'm 100% sure, but I'm just repeating. They're like huge sponge. And the rainfall, you might know the rainfall. It'll vary something between 200 inches to 400 inches on Western Ghats. All the water will get just soaked into those grasslands, and we are treating those upper reach grasslands and cholas are wastelands. Including the forest department, including the planters, they are treating it as wastelands. We are trying to plant things, we are trying to do some development things, but they are not. So you just imagine 40 to 50 crore people are completely depending on Western Ghats. If we disturb that strata, our rivers will flow, the rain will come, rivers will flow, but they will not be perennial. We'll be struggling to get the drinking water. Just in another few years, it is already happening, you can see it. You can see how the Bangaloreans are struggling for drinking water. So if we are not including the whole conservation process in our rush for development, it will be futile. It's 100% it will be futile in another 10-15 years. But we are all doing our assets and everything for the next generation. But we better leave them fresh air, fresh water.
Thank you, sir. ನಾನು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ವಿಷಯ ಗಮನಿಸಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಈ ಪ್ರಪಂಚದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಗ್ರೇಟ್ ಕಾದಂಬರಿಕಾರರಾಗಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ ಮೇಕರ್ಸ್ ಆಗಲಿ, ಅವರ ಕೃತಿಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ನೇಟಿವ್ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ನ ಎಸ್ಟಾಬ್ಲಿಷ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್, ಕುರೋಸವ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ಸ್ನ ನೀವು ಗಮನಿಸಿದರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸ್ಥಳೀಯವಾಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಕುವೆಂಪು ಅವರ ಮಹಾನ್ ಕಾದಂಬರಿ ಮಲೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಮದುಮಗಳು, ಈ 700 ಪುಟದ ಮಹಾನ್ ಕಾದಂಬರಿಯಲ್ಲೂ ಸಹ ಗುತ್ತಿ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರು ಸುಮಾರು 80 ಭಾಗ ಅಪಿಯರ್ ಆಗ್ತಾನೆ. ನಂತರ ಬರೋ ಪೂರ್ಣಚಂದ್ರ ತೇಜಸ್ವಿಯವರ ಕೃತಿ ಕರ್ವಾಲೋನಲ್ಲಿ ಮಂದಣ್ಣ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರು ಭಾಳ ಪ್ರಾಮಿನೆಂಟಾಗಿ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾನೆ. ನಂತರ ನೋಡಿದಂಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಲೇಖನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಚೆನ್ನ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ, ಮಾರ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ, ಬೊಮ್ಮ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ, ಅಂಬರೀಷ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ, ತಿಪ್ಪಣ್ಣ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ. ಹೇಗೆ ಸರ್ ಈ ಕೃತಿಗಳಲ್ಲಾಗಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಾಗಲಿ ಈ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಗಳು, ಈ ನೆಲಕ್ಕೆ ಹತ್ತಿರವಾದ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಗಳು, ಈ ಮಣ್ಣಿನ ವಾಸನೆ ಇರೋ ಕ್ಯಾರೆಕ್ಟರ್ಗಳು ಹೇಗೆ ಪಾಪ್ಔಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ? ಇದು ಕೋಇನ್ಸಿಡೆನ್ಸಾ ಅಥವಾ ಕಾನ್ಷಿಯಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಇಂಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರೋದ?
I think it's part of our life. Ours is more non-fiction writing, so they're all part of our life. So naturally they emerge. For example, ನೀವು ಬೊಮ್ಮ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ, ಬೊಮ್ಮ was our cook. ನಾವು ಮಧುಮಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ we were with ಒಂದು ಸೈಂಟಿಫಿಕ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿ ಜೊತೆ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಬಾಂಬೆ ನ್ಯಾಚುರಲಿಸ್ಟಿಕ್ ಸೊಸೈಟಿದು ಒಂದು ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಸ್ಟೇಷನ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಅಲ್ಲಿದ್ವಿ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೊಮ್ಮ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಲ್ ಇಸ್ the problems he was creating, he had ended up in kitchen rather than in the field. So ನಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಭಾಳ ಫೇವ್ರೆಟ್ ಫಿಲಮ್. Nobody wanted to, remove him from the job, so he had ended up in the kitchen. So ಅವನು ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಒಂದು, I'll just, maybe I talked too seriously about the Western Ghats. Dinesh is expecting me to tell a story about Bomma. Bomma was a fantastic character. ಒಂದು ದಿವಸ ನಾನು ಕೃಪಾ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಧುಮಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಅಸೈನ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫೈರ್ ಫೋಟೋಗ್ರಾಫ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರಗ್ಲಿಂಗ್. ಅದು ರಾತ್ರಿ ಯಾವುದೋ ಗುಡ್ಡ ಹತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕು. In our almost beginning forest days, we were always on foot. We were always with the tribal people. We were always on foot. We were always seeing the forest from below the canopy. And we were getting into a lot of minute details because of that. And we were also coming in contact with a lot of native people. So Bomma was one character. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ರಾತ್ರಿ ಒದ್ದಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ ಒಂದು ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಫೈರ್ ಫೋಟೋ ತೆಗಿಯೋಕ್ಕೆ. ಎಲ್ಲೋ ರಾತ್ರಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಿದ್ವಿ. ಅದು ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆನೇ ವಾಕ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಜಾಗಗಳು. ಭಾಳ ಎಲಿಫೆಂಟ್ ಇನ್ಫೆಸ್ಟೆಡ್ ಏರಿಯಾ. ಫುಲ್ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಹೈಲಿ ಸ್ಯಾಚುರೇಟೆಡ್ ಎಲಿಫೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಯಾಚುರೇಷನ್ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಮಧುಮಲೆ ಏರಿಯಾ. ಸೊ ಅಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಬರ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರೆ ಬಹುಶಃ ಈ ಕುರುಬರೆಲ್ಲ, ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಡು ಕುರುಬರು, ಜೇನು ಕುರುಬರು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ. ದೋಸ್ ಆರ್ ದ ಟ್ರೈಬ್ಸ್. ಮೇ ಬಿ ದೇ ವರ್ ಲಾಫಿಂಗ್ ಎಟ್ ಅಸ್, ಇವ್ರಿಗೇನು ರಾತ್ರಿ ನಡೆಯೋಕ್ಕೆ ಬರಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಬಟ್ ಒಂದೆರಡು ದಿವಸ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೋಗಿದ್ವಿ ಬೇರೆ ಯಾವುದೋ ಕೆಲಸ. ವಾಪಸ್ ಬಂದರೆ ಬೊಮ್ಮ ಸಿಕ್ದ. ನಿನ್ನೆ ಬರಲ್ವ ಸರ್ ಅಂತ. ಯಾಕೆ ಬೊಮ್ಮ? ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಫೋಟೋ ಸಾರ್ ಅಂತ. ಏನು ಬೊಮ್ಮ? ನನ್ನ ತಮ್ಮನ ಮನೆ ಸಾರ್, ಹೊತ್ತು ಉರಿಯುತ್ತಿತ್ತು ಸರ್, ಹಿಂದ್ಗಡೆ ಕಾಡೆಲ್ಲ ಬೆಂಕಿ ಸರ್, ಇಲ್ಲೂ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಬೆಂಕಿ ಸರ್, ಅಷ್ಟು ಎತ್ತರ ಉರಿತಿತ್ತು ಸರ್. ಹೇ, ಸಡನ್ನಾಗಿ ಏನು ನಮ್ಮ ಬೊಮ್ಮ ಇಷ್ಟು ಇನ್ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸ್ತು ನನಗೆ. ವಿ ವರ್ ಟೇಕನ್ ಅ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್. ವಿ ಡಿಂಟ್ ಲೈಕ್ ದ ಹೋಲ್ ಐಡಿಯಾ. ಅವ್ನ ತಮ್ಮನ ಮನೆ ಹೊತ್ತುರಿತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಇವನು ಅದನ್ನ ದೊಡ್ಡ ಕತೆ, ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಫೋಟೋ ತೆಗಿಬೋದಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನಲ್ಲ. ವಾಟ್ ನಾನ್ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಈ ಟಾಕಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ. Then we realized, next 2-3 days, they built a new house for him. So they had no concept of the asset. They had no concept of ಒಂದು ನಂಗೆಲ್ಲೋ ಒಂದು ಕಡೆ ಸಾವಿರ ಕಳಿ ಉಂಟು ಜಂಗಮ ಕಳಿವಿಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಥರ ಬದುಕ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರಲ್ಲ ಅವರು ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ಮಾರನೆಗೆ ಅವರು ಈಗ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗಾಗಲಿ ಅವ್ರು ಮಾಡಿಡೋ ಆಸ್ತಿ ಕೂಡ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಅಂದರೆ, ಅವ್ರ ಮನೆ ಸೈಟು, ಅದು ಹೋಲ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಅಸೆಟ್ಟೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅವ್ರು. ಸೊ ಅದ್ಯಾವುದು ಮಾಡಿಡಲ್ಲ. ಇನ್ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ದೇ ಟೀಚ್ ದೆಮ್ ಹೌ ಟು ಸರ್ವೈವ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್, ಹೌ ಟು ಸರ್ವೈವ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಎಲಿಫೆಂಟ್ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್, ಹೌ ಟು ಗ್ಯಾದರ್ ಫುಡ್, ಹೌ ಟು ಫೈಂಡ್ ಫುಡ್, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ಸ್ಮಾಲ್ ಏನಾರು ಕಾಯಿಲೆ ಗಿಲೆ ಬಿದ್ದರೆ, ವಿಚ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಮೆಡಿಸಿನಲ್ ಪ್ಲಾಂಟ್. Those are the basic survival kit they hand it over to them. That is the knowledge they hand it over. They hand over the knowledge, not the assets. So the basic philosophy of life was fascinating for us. So we had already started looking at things like this. So another time, so all these guys were popping up in our stories very naturally for them. ಸೊ ಇದೇ ಥರ ಆಗಿ ನನ್ನ ಫ್ರೆಂಡ್ಸು ಏನಾದ್ರು ಬಂದರೆ, ತುಂಬ ಜನ ಬರೋರು ಮಧುಮಲೆಗೆ ಬಂದರೆ, ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಉಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಒನ್ ಆಫ್ ದರ್ ಪ್ರೋಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಇಸ್ ಟು ಮೀಟ್ ಬೊಮ್ಮ, ಕೃಷ್ಣ, ಚೆನ್ನ, ಕುನ್ಮಾರಿ, ಸಂಬಡಿ. ಸೊ ಬೊಮ್ಮ ವಾಸ್ ದ ಫೇವ್ರೆಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ಎವ್ರಿಬಡಿ. ಸೊ ದೇ ಆಲ್ ವಾಂಟೆಡ್ ಟು ಮೀಟ್ ಬೊಮ್ಮ. ಬೈ ದೆನ್ ಲಾಟ್ ಆಫ್ ಟೈಮ್ had passed and he had joined Indian Institute of Science. Bomma was a tracker in Indian Institute of Science. So one of my friends who is a biologist, he came there, he wanted to meet Bomma. These tribal people are usually very shy, so they don't open up in front of the newcomers. So we might write a lot of stories, but if you look at him, he looks completely dumb to you because he'll not talk for a long time. They will take ages to get used to you, and at least at that time. Now most of them are exposed to the outer world. So we went to meet Brahma. We knew that my friend will be very disappointed meeting him because he will not open up. So we had told him, don't talk to him, don't ask him any questions. So after some time, we had not met him for a few months, so Brahma started telling us some story about how he saw a bird. And one bird, one highly endangered rufous-billed hawk eagle, adra nesting hudukta iddi now. Brahma remembered that. He told me, sir, hakki ille harte sir. Hengattu Brahma? Adu innond hakki adna ಓಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು ಸರ್. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ನೀಲಗಿರಿ ತಪ್ಪಲಲ್ಲೇ ಸುತ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು ಸರ್. ಏನಂತೆ ಅದೇನು ಗುಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದ? ಹೌದು ಸರ್, ಒಂದು ಕಡ್ಡಿ ತೊಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಯ್ತು, ನಾನು ನೋಡಿದೆ. ಎತ್ಲಾಗ ಹೋಯ್ತು ಅಂದ. ಅಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಹೋಯ್ತು ಅಂದ. ಅವನು ಇಡೀ ಕಾಡೇ ತೋರಿಸ್ದ. ಹಾಫ್ ದ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಈ ಶೋಡ್ ಟು ಶೋ ಮಿ ಎ ನೆಸ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಯಾಕೋ ಡೌಟಾಗಿ ಕೃಪಾ ಕೇಳ್ದ, ಬೊಮ್ಮ ಆ ಹಕ್ಕಿ ಯಾವ ಬಣ್ಣ ಇತ್ತು ಅಂದ. ರೆಡ್ ಕಲರ್ ಸಾರ್ ಅಂದ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ನಂಗೆ ಡೌಟಾಗಿ ಕೃಪಾ ಮತ್ತೆ ಕೇಳ್ದ, ರೆಡ್ ಕಲರ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಯಾವ ಕಲರ್ ಬೊಮ್ಮ ಅಂತ. ಅದೇನು ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್, ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂದ ಅವನು. ಸಿ, if you are a biologist, you will get confused. If a scientist, if a biologist says that, you'll be taken aback, because red color, what we see, need not be red color. See, in evolution, if you just look at the flowers and the color of the flowers, you will enjoy, oh, what a beautiful flower, pink color. It might not be pink, because what we see is pink. It will have evolved for something else. It will have evolved for a pollinator, or whatever reason. Or in the night it might be. Because what we see, Vibgayar, that arc of Vibgayar, many insects see part of it or beyond it. Some of the birds see part of it or beyond it. They'll be seeing infrared, ultraviolet, all those things. So in ultraviolet rays and infrared rays, it will be looking completely different. I'm sure Brahma did not mean it. But my friend, a biologist, was completely, he was so happy with this trip. That one word of a red color osa, nodta helbeku sir anda. So you have to see and tell anda. What is red? So what is red? If you get in depth in the life science, you will get totally confused. What is red? It might be a completely different color. It will have evolved for something else, not for the God or for the man. ನಾವು ತೊಗೊಂಡೋಗಿ ದೇವ್ರಿಗೆ ಅರ್ಪಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ವೇಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗೋಯ್ತು ಅನ್ಕೋತೀವಿ. They have not evolved for that. They will have evolved for a purpose. They will have evolved for certain reasons. So what that insect will be seeing, or that bird will be seeing, is the real color of that bird. So when Brahma says that, it might not be the real meaning of what he is talking, just like the red color. So, but still, sometime you need a lot of knowledge to dig into the wisdom of somebody else. So end of the day, all these people, for us, will be representing native wisdom. Native wisdom is something which will be usually hidden in myth. It will be like digging out a huge, ಒಂದು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಗುಡ್ಡ ಕಡ್ದು ಒಂದು ಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಚಿನ್ನ ಹುಡುಕ್ದಂಗೆ. So you need to be good enough, you need to have a lot of knowledge to dig into this native wisdom. So possibly in our writing also, these people pop up as representatives of native wisdom. That's all.
It's worth ಅವರು ಪಾಪಪ್ ಆಗೋದನ್ನ ಜಸ್ಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ಓವರ್ ಟು ಕಾಂತರಾಜ್.
ಇಲ್ಲ, ಜಸ್ಟಿಫೈ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ದೇ ಡಿಸರ್ವ್ ಇಟ್.
Correct. Appropriate word.
Thank you, Dinesh. You spent 15 long years behind, any one of you can answer. You spent 15 long years behind Dole. Most scientists doing their PhD complete their PhD rather in 3 years. The filmmakers these days complete their films in maybe 18 months, maximum 2 years. But you spent 15 long years behind Dole, Wild Dogs. No doubt it was, they were top class films and they won a lot of accolades and they were telecast around 148 countries. But you took 15 years. Can you explain?
Actually, they are not 2 films, they are actually 6 films. Because it's almost, each...
Yeah, but the 2 of them are my favorites, especially though the pack won the
same
Green Oscar, Wild Dog Diaries is my favorite film.
Same thing, when you do 5-part series, it is like making 5 films. It's a huge process. Every film demands the same amount of... It's working. So Wild Dogs, again Wild Dogs, you're all in trouble. So Wild Dogs, basically, when we started, they're basically secretive animals. And at the time when we started, in the mid-90s, they were extremely wary of people. They have their own good reasons for that. For centuries, people have stolen, they kill, whenever given a chance, whenever they get a chance. So basically, they hate people. Second thing is, when the British came, they thought these animals are decimating the game which they wanted to kill. So it's India. And these dogs, those wild dogs, which are actually truly wild, they have evolved here. And these people come from England and say that these animals are decimating the chisel and the samba which they wanted to kill. So they announced bounty on it. So they were decimated in thousands. They were killed in thousands. That bounty was there almost till the 70s, late 20th century it was there. Even after our independence, our managers and even some scientists thought these dogs are detrimental to the survival of tigers. So they wanted to eliminate them. But nobody cared that leopard, tiger, wild dog, they've all evolved evolved the same way. And they deserve, and they really demand and deserve a proper place in the ecosystem. So they were extremely shy and wary because of all these reasons. But now with long-term protection, they're getting used to tourists and vehicles and things like that. But even when we started, at least 100 meters away, you would see them at 100 meters away, and you move 1 inch and they would just vanish into the forest. It was all very, very difficult for us. We took a long time, and then after almost 1 year, we realized this is not going to happen in 1 or 2 years. It might take longer and longer time. So we had to get back to the field on foot again. And it was like old days, so we started following wild dogs again on foot. We wanted to know every bit of where they go, what they do, and how they... Until then, we had the basic information on wild dogs. They are complex social animals, pack-living social animals. So we had the basic information done by many scientists. But that was not enough for us because we were very ambitious. We wanted to tell a true scientific behavioral story on wild dogs. For that, we needed to see them from close range. When you look at wild dogs, all of them look the same, exactly the same. So they don't have stripes or spots to identify and things like that. Very difficult. So first of all, we had to go a little more nearer to see them. In the distance we were seeing, it's almost like we were confused whether it is wild dog or some other animal. So in that, we were out to identify individuals and tell their stories, which was nearly impossible. Almost all my scientist friends laughed at us and said, no, nothing doing. We were doing a lot of camera work for outside producers at that time. But we were also getting paid very well. So if we had worked for 1 or 2 months, we could sustain behind the wild dogs for the next 10 or 11 months. It is just about not being greedy. If you're not greedy about anything else, the basic survival was enough for us. If we had worked for just 1 and a half, 2 months, we could survive the whole year. So we were continuously following them. After some years, we started identifying individuals. So that took a long time. And then we found another problem. Actually, they were not ready to make a kill in front of human beings, including us. They were not, even if they are on the run. So again, another thing is, see, they can take off from any point and go in any direction in the forest. You have all seen our forest. It is not like African savannas. Once they take off, you don't see them. And they can take off in any direction. And within the 1.5 minutes, in the next 1.5 kilometers, and within the next 1.5 minutes, the kill will happen. And it is almost like predicting an accident, which was impossible, we thought. But at one stage, we realized that, we need to know them extremely well before starting our film. So we, through our camera, followed them continuously. And then this problem started. After almost 5-6 years, we realized that they are not making a kill. They don't make a kill in front of human beings. Because for generations, they are taught that as soon as you make a kill, people will steal the kill. So for our film, if you are doing an international film, if you are pitching it in the international arena, it has to be very strong. And for us to jump from cameraman to filmmaking was a different, but by then we had developed a lot of contacts and people had a lot of belief in our camera work. So we had an outside chance of getting a film. But still, we had to assure them the kill. End of the day, that is the most adrenaline pumping, high speed drama, whatever story you tell. So that was difficult for us to assure because we knew that they're not going to make a kill. So that went on and on and on. And then we did not understand the social structure. It became more and more complicated as you know them more. See, it is like this. If I have to tell you that you are married and you have 2 children and all this. But if I have to get into your old love stories and all the school days, things like that, I need to know you more. I need to spend a lot of time with you. I need to really chat, have a drink and chat and all those things, try and make you talk. It takes a long time. Like that, understanding a very secretive, elusive animal took us a long, long time. And then this social structure. Social structure became so complicated. Okay, I'll stop sometime. But we had to go through, we hadn't had enough literature. So we had to go through whatever literature was available about whatever social animal, from blind mole to wolves to African wild dogs to whatever you name it. And then we ended up studying extensively on babblers of Israel. There was one professor called Amos Zahavi. With his students, he had banded many birds and he had studied extensively. By then, already 40-45 years of research happened. It is still ongoing and more than 40-50 PhDs have come. It is path-breaking and it is coming out with extraordinary new vision and new hypotheses all over. In fact, Darwin ನಿದ್ದೆ ಕೆಡಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಿದ್ದು ಎಷ್ಟೋ puzzles-na he could solve it. So ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಓದ್ತಾ ಹೋದಂಗೆ somewhere we could relate some of the behavior with our wild dogs. So it all took a long time, Kanta. If I have to tell all this, it will take a longer time. So we'll stop it here.
ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕಾಂತ್ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕ್ವಿಕ್ ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ರೀಸ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಈಗ ತುಂಬ ಸಿಂಪಲ್ ಹೇಳಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ, ಈಗ ನೀವು ಕ್ವಿಕ್ ಡಾಕ್ಯುಮೆಂಟ್ರೀಸ್ ಅಂತ ನೀವು ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಲ್ಲ, ನೀವು ಕ್ವಿಕ್ ಭಾಳ ಕ್ರಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಿ ನೀವು ವಿಷುವಲ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿದರೆ, ಒಂದು ಡ್ರೋನ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಒಂದು ಮ್ಯೂಸಿಕ್ ಜೋರಾಗಿ ಹೊಡಿತಾರೆ, ಓಕೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇಸಿಕಲ್ಲಾಗಿ ಸೋಲ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಫ್ಯೂ ಇಮೇಜಸ್ನ ಇಟ್ಟು ಒಂದು ಲೈನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ನಮಗೆ ಆ ಸೋಲ್ ಇಲ್ದಿರೋ ಫಿಲ್ಮ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟ ಇಲ್ಲ.
We'll take you to a quick visual from the movie The Pack. The Pack won the prestigious Panda Award or the Green Oscar. category, Green Oscar in the open category for animal behavior. This is the only film from an Asian filmmaker which has won this award till today.
The next day, I am taken by complete surprise. Kanai and the entire pack are near the water hole close to the tigress kill. I can only think that the pungent smell of the rotting meat must have brought them running. But if Kanai and the pack are really audacious enough to attempt to steal from the tigress, they had better watch out. The adults certainly appear to be very cautious and alert. And then the very thing I dreaded. The most aggressive attack by a tigress on wild dogs that I have ever seen. But this is remarkable. The dogs keep coming back. They are distracting the tigress from targeting a single dog. Are they trying to confuse her with numbers? Kanai and the pack are certainly standing their ground. I am momentarily lost for words. The next day, I am taken by complete surprise. Kanai and the entire pack are near the water hole close to the tigress kill. I can only think that the pungent smell of the rotting meat must have brought them running. But if Kanai and the pack are really audacious enough to attempt to steal from the tigress, they had better watch out. The adults certainly appear to be very cautious and alert. And then the very thing I dreaded. The most aggressive attack by a tigress on wild dogs that I have ever seen. But this is remarkable. The dogs keep coming back. They are distracting the tigress from targeting a single dog. Are they trying to confuse her with numbers? and the pack are certainly standing their ground. I am momentarily lost for words.
Morning we had lost and we didn't know where they had gone. So I and Krupakar just driving around to see if there is any mark anywhere. Suddenly we saw one scat of a single dog. So then I got down and checked, and it had gone through the forest. So in the forest track, I followed it for some time. Only one wild dog track was there. Then another 2-3 joined and they had gone. And it was almost half an hour past they had gone. And then I saw a tiger footprint on one of the things. A tiger had joined from another path. It was bloody fresh. When it is very fresh, the sand will be almost standing. Your eyes have to be good. Now I can't make out all that. But at that time I could really just sense it like this. And so they were almost upright. I knew my hair was, already... So it was impossible. So I ran back to the jeep and immediately ran to because that was an elephant path. As you know, these elephant paths either go to the water or to the Kurbadi. So I knew it was going to the water hole. So I rushed there, set up the whole thing. By then we saw the wild dogs had a belly full. They were all full, completely full. All the pups were playing and things like that. We were bloody sure that, they have stolen the kill from the tiger. And that tigress had cubs and we were following it parallelly with the wild dogs. Because it was brewing. We had even told the Animal Planet boss that I need another 2 months. Because the film had already come here. We wanted to finish it further up. So it was not easy because the story was so strong. We wanted to finish it off with a bigger sequence. So the whole story had developed, but just that narrative thread had to come and join somewhere. So parallelly that female tiger was running in the story. So this was the moment. We had no time to miss. We had no time to, we ran, took a position and then changed a position, set up all, including the microphones. Everything. The audio was so important because so rare a thing, you will never get it again. And when the dogs were playing, they were all quite cool and they had no clue because the wind was from this side. They had no clue of the tiger coming in. But we heard something like that on the right of us. See, when you get trained with the camera, at that time it was, and professionally the bigger lenses is not easy. You try that. You can open both the eyes and can be looking somewhere else also and you can be training. It's a training. So just doing that and one dog's ears went up like this. That was enough. You hold on it. Usually in this situation, you start shooting 20 seconds later, but we had started shooting almost 20 seconds early. So this was a very, very nice experience for us. So then you have to hold on to that shot for as long as possible because your nerves will be already breaking. And if you try to go and look where the tiger is, tiger has not come out of the bushes yet. But the years have gone up. You will miss tiger as well as the wild dog. You will mess up the whole sequence. That is why I'm waiting for the younger filmmakers to come out with one good adrenaline pumping situation, which is not easy. So you hold on to it for as long as possible and then go to the tiger. So the whole thing was very logical for us. And that gave us more pleasure because it was not an accident. It was almost like predicting an accident, which is actually possible.
Okay, Dinesh. Here.
Thank you, sir. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ಇಷ್ಟು ಒಳ್ಳೆ ವಿಜುವಲ್ಸ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ, ಸೇನಾನಿ ಸ್ಟೋರಿ ಟೆಲ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ನಾವು ಕತೆ ಕೇಳೋದು ಭಾಳ ಕಷ್ಟ. ಎನಿವೆ, ಇದು ಲಿಟ್ರೇಚರ್ ಫೆಸ್ಟಿವಲ್ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಸಾಹಿತ್ಯದ ಬಗ್ಗೆನೂ ಮಾತಾಡಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಸರ್, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಕೆನ್ನಾಯಿಯ ಜಾಡಿನಲ್ಲಿ, ಇದರ ಶೀರ್ಷಿಕೆ ಕೆನ್ನಾಯಿ ಜಾಡಿನಲ್ಲಿ, ಅಂದರೆ ಈಗ ನೋಡಿದ್ರಲ್ಲ ವೈಲ್ಡ್ ಡಾಗ್, ಅದರದ್ದು ಶೀರ್ಷಿಕೆ ಕೆನ್ನಾಯಿ ಜಾಡಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಇದ್ರೂ ಕಾಡು, ಇವರ ಈ ಕತೆಗಳು ಕಾಡಿನಾಯಿಗಳಿಗಷ್ಟೇ ಸೀಮಿತವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕತೆಗಳು ಬರೀ ಕತೆಗಳಾಗಿ ನಿರೂಪಣೆಗೊಂಡಿಲ್ಲ. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು ಫಿಲಾಸಫಿ ಟಚ್ ಇದೆ, ಸ್ಪರ್ಶ ಇದೆ. ಇದರ ಹಿಂದೆ ವೈಜ್ಞಾನಿಕ ಚಿಂತನೆ ಇದೆ. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಮಾನವೀಯ ಸ್ಪರ್ಶ ಸಹ ತುಂಬ ಇದೆ ಕೆಲವು ಕಥೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ. ಇದರ ಒಂದು ಅಧ್ಯಾಯ ಬಂದು ನನಗೆ ಬಹಳ ಇಷ್ಟವಾಗಿದ್ದು ಅಂಬರೀಷನ ಮೊದಲ ಓದು ಅಂತ. ಆ ಅಧ್ಯಾಯದ ಕೊನೆಯ ಸಾಲು, ಕಷ್ಟದ ದುಡಿಮೆಯನ್ನಷ್ಟೇ ಬಲ್ಲ ಆ ಬೆರಳುಗಳಿಗೆ ತೆಳ್ಳನೆಯ ಹಾಳೆಗಳು ದಕ್ಕಲೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಕಷ್ಟದ ದುಡಿಮೆಯನ್ನಷ್ಟೇ ಬಲ್ಲ ಆ ಬೆರಳುಗಳಿಗೆ ತೆಳ್ಳನೆಯ ಹಾಳೆಗಳು ದಕ್ಕಲೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಎಂಬ ಒಂದು ಸಾಲು ನನ್ನ ಭಾಳ ಕಾಡಿದೆ. ಇದರ ಹಿಂದಿನ ವಿವರ ಮತ್ತು ಘಟನೆ.
ದಿನೇಶ್, ನೀವು ಕಡೆ ಸಾಲು ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಮಗೆ ಮೊದಲಿಂದ ಹೇಳಂಗೆ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಡ್ತೀರಾ, ನೀವು ಫುಲ್ ಕತೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀರಾ.
ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕತೆಗಳೇ ಸಿಂಗಲ್ ಲೈನರಲ್ಲಿ ಶುರು ಆಗ್ತದೆ.
ಇದು ನಾವು ಡೆಕ್ಕನ್ ಪ್ಲಾಟೋನಲ್ಲಿ ವುಲ್ಫ್ಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಒಂದು 3 years ನಾವಲ್ಲಿ ತೋಳೆಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಇನಿಷಿಯಲ್ ನಾವು ಹೋದಾಗ ಒಂದು 6 ತಿಂಗಳು ಸರ್ವೆ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ 6 ತಿಂಗಳು ನಮಗೇನು ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ನಾವು ಏನು ನೋಡಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಬಹುಶಃ ನೀವು ಉತ್ತರ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ತುಂಬ ಜನ ನೋಡಿರ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ಕಾಣ್ತಾ, ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಸ್ಕೇಪ್, ಪೀಪಲ್, ಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಪರಿಚಯ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ವಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಜನಕ್ಕಾದ. ನಮಗೆ ಇಡೀ ವುಲ್ಫ್ ನಮಗೆ ಒಂದು ಬೇರೆ ಪ್ರಪಂಚನ ನಮಗೆ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ನಾವು ನಮಗೆ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗೊತ್ತು ಅಂದ್ಕೊತೀವಿ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದೆಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಸುಳ್ಳು ಅಂತ ನಮಗೆ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಿದೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ರೀಸನ್ ಏನಂದರೆ, ನಾವು ಸರ್ವೆಗೆ ಹೋಗಬೇಕಾದಾಗ ನಾವು 2 ಜಿಪ್ಸಿ ಜೀಪ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ವಿ ಮತ್ತು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೆಲ್ಪರ್ಸ್ ಒಂದಷ್ಟು ಜನ. ಅಲ್ಲೇನು ಓಪನ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಸೊ ಗೆಸ್ಟ್ ಹೌಸ್ ಆ ಥರ ಏನು ಇರಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ನಾವೇನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ವಿ, ಓಪನ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ಸ್, ಯಾವ್ದಾರು ಅಗ್ರಿಕಲ್ಚರ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ಸು ಏನು ಮಾಡದೆ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿರೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಗೌರ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಯಾವುದಾದ್ರೂ ಓಪನ್ ಏರಿಯಾಸ್ ಖಾಲಿ ಇರೋದು, ಅಲ್ಲೇ ಟೆಂಟ್ ಹಾಕ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಅವಾಗ ನಮಗೆ ನಿಜವಾಗ್ಲೂ ಭಾಳ ಚಾಲೆಂಜಿಂಗ್ ಆಗಿತ್ತು. ಹೋಲ್ ಇದೆ, ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಲೋಕಲಲ್ಲಿ ಜನಕ್ಕೆ ಇವ್ರು ಯಾಕೆ ಬಂದಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಯಾರಿವರು ಅನ್ನೋದೊಂದು ವಿಪರೀತ ಭಯ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಕೆಲವರಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಬಂದು ಹೆಂಗಸರನ್ನ ಕತ್ಕೊಂಡು ದುಬೈಗೆ ತಗೊಂಡೋಗಿ ಮಾರಿಬಿಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಂತ. ಓಕೆ, ಆಮೇಲೆ ಅದೇ ಟೈಮಲ್ಲಿ ಟಿ ವಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಕಿಡ್ನಿದು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು, ಕಿಡ್ನಿ ಕಳ್ತನ. ಸೊ ಇವರು ಅದೇ ಟೀಮ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದಾ ಅಂತ ಇನ್ನು ಕೆಲವರು. ಸೊ ಇನ್ನು ಕೆಲವರು ಈ ಮಕ್ಕಳನ್ನ ಕತ್ಕೊಂಡೋಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಈ ಗಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ಗಳು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಬಿಲ್ಡಿಂಗ್ ಕಟ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ ಅವುಗಳಿಗೆ ಬಲಿ ಕೊಡಕ್ಕೆ ತಗೊಂಡೋಗಿ ಬಂದಿರ್ಬೋದಾ ಅಂತ. ಇನ್ನು ಕೆಲವರು ನಿಧಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿದೆ, ಯಾವುದೋ ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಚಿನ್ನ ಹಳೇದು ರಾಜರ ಕಾಲದಲ್ಲಿದೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ಪತ್ತೆ ಮಾಡಿ ತಗೊಂಡು ಹೋಗಿ ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಇಷ್ಟು ಸಂಶಯಗಳು ಆ ಹಳ್ಳಿಗಳು ಸುತ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಇದು ನಮಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತಂದರೆ, ನಾವು ಕೆಲವು ಸಲ ಒಂದು ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದು ಬೆಳಿಗ್ಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೊರಟೋಗಿರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ, ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಪಜಲ್ ಆಗೋದು, ರಾತ್ರಿನೇ ಮುಗಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೊರಟೋಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಯಾರಾದರೂ ಬಂದು. ಸೊ ಅವರು ಟ್ರ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಜನ ತುಂಬ್ಕೊಂಬಂದ್ರು, ಹೊಡಿಯೋಕ್ಕೆ ಹುಡ್ಕಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತಾಯಿತ್ತು. ಬಟ್ ಲಕ್ಕಿಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಲೋಕಲ್ MLA ಮತ್ತು ನನ್ನ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ಮೇಟ್ SP ಆಗಿದೆ. ಸೊ ಹೆಂಗೆ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ. ಬಟ್ ಈ ಪ್ರಾಸೆಸ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬ ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ನಮಗೆ ಭಾಳ ಹಂಬಲಾಗಿ ಸರ್ ನೀವು ನಮ್ಮ ಇದರಲ್ಲೇ ಇರಿ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ದ. ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ತೋಳದು ನಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಇತ್ತು, ಬೇರೆ ರೀತಿಲಿ ಇದೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಥರ. ಅವನ ಹೆಸರು ತಿಮ್ಮಣ್ಣ ಅಂತ. ತಿಮ್ಮಣ್ಣ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ವೆರಿ ಪೂರ್ ಫಾರ್ಮರ್. ಅವನು 2.5 ಎಕರೆ ಭೂಮಿ ಅವನಿಗೆ. ಮಳೆ ಗಿಳೆ ಏನು ಅಷ್ಟಾಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಅವನು ಸಜ್ಜೆ ಬೆಳೆದಿದ್ದ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಅದು ಬರಗಾಲ ಆಯಿತು, ಭಾಳ ಸೀರಿಯಸ್ ಡ್ರೌಟ್, ಪ್ರೀವಿಯಸ್ ಇಯರು ಡ್ರೌಟ್ ಇತ್ತು. ಸೊ ಸಜ್ಜೆ ಆಗಿತ್ತು, ಅವನಿಗೆ ಸಜ್ಜೆ ಬೆಳೆ ಆಗಿತ್ತು. ನಾವು ಅವನ ಹತ್ರ ಉಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ರಿಂದ ಅವತ್ತು ಸುಗ್ಗಿ ಸುಗ್ಗಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತಲ್ಲ, ಕಟಾವು ಮಾಡೋದು. ಓಕೆ, ಇವನು ಪಕ್ಕದ ಜಮೀನಿಗೆ ಹೋದ, ಅವ್ರದ್ದೇನೋ ಬಂದಿತ್ತು, ಇವನು ಹೆಂಡತಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅವಗೇನೋ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಅದಾದಮೇಲೆ ಮಧ್ಯಾಹ್ನದಷ್ಟೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ಅವನ ಜಮೀನಿಗೆ ಬಂದ. ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಬಂದು ಇವನಿಗೆ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡಿ ಒಂದಿಷ್ಟು ಸಜ್ಜೆ ರಾಶಿ ಹಾಕ್ದ. ನಾನು ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಏನಾಯಿತು, ಇದ್ದಕ್ಕಿದ್ದಂಗೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕಾಪಟ್ಟೆ ಹಕ್ಕಿಗಳು ತುಂಬಿಕೊಂತು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಸಜ್ಜೆ ಗುಡ್ಡೆಗೆ. ನಾನು ತಿಮ್ಮಣ್ಣಂಗೆ ತಿಮ್ಮಣ್ಣ ನಿಂತು ಫುಲ್ ನಿಂದು ಹೋಯ್ತು, ಫುಲ್ ತುಂಬಿಡುತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಅಂತ. ಅವನು ಅಯ್ಯೋ ಬಿಡಿ ಸರ್, ಅದು ಗುಬ್ಬಿಗಳು ಎಷ್ಟು ತಿಂತವೆ, ಸಣ್ಣ ಸಣ್ಣ ಗುಬ್ಬಿಗಳಂತ. ಇನ್ಫ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪನೇ ಬಂದಿತ್ತು ಬೆಳೆ. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಒಂದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ಇನ್ಯಾರೋ ಬಂದರು, ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣದು ಕುಕ್ಕೆ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಬಂದರು. ಅವರಿಗೂ ಒಂದಿಷ್ಟು ತುಂಬಿಕೊಟ್ಟ. ಬಂದ ತಿರ್ಗ, ಯಾರೋ ಅದು ಅಂದೆ. ಸರ್ ನಮ್ಮೂರಲ್ಲಿ ಇವರು ತಂಬೂರಿ ಬಾರ್ತಾರೆ ಸರ್, ಈಗ ಪಾಪ ಅವರೆಲ್ಲ ಬಡವರು, ಈಗ ಯಾರು ದುಡ್ಡು ಕೊಡಲ್ಲ ಪಾಪ, ಭಾಳ ಬಡವರು ಸರ್ ಅಂತ. ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ರು ಅಂತ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟ. ಅವ್ರು ತೀರಾ ಬಡವರು ಸರ್, ಅವರಿಗೆ ಭೂಮಿನೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ನನಗೆ ಭಾಳ ಆಶ್ಚರ್ಯ ಆಯ್ತು, ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ನೀವು ಬಡತನದಲ್ಲೂ ನೀವು ಅಷ್ಟು ಸುಖವಾಗಿ ಬದುಕ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತ ನನ್ನ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ನೋಡೇ ಇರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ನಮಗೆ ತುಂಬ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಮ್ಮದು ಕಾಂಟ್ರಾಸ್ಟ್, ನಂದು ನನಗೆ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್ ಆಗಲಿ ಮತ್ತು ಸರ್ಕಲ್ ಇದೆ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಕೆಲವರು, ಒಬ್ಬ ನನ್ನ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತ ಒಂದು 6-7 ಸಾವಿರ ಕೋಟಿ ಓನರ್, ಅವನು ಈಗ ಒಂದು ಆಲ್ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ 6 ತಿಂಗಳಿಂದ ಅವನು ಭಾಳ ಡಲ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಒಂದು 200 ಕೋಟಿ ಸಡನ್ ಯಾವುದೋ ಲಾಸ್ ಆಯ್ತಂತ. ನನಗೆ ಅರ್ಥನೇ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ನನಗೆ ತಿಮ್ಮಣ್ಣನ ಹತ್ರ ಕಲ್ತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು ಈ ಜಗತ್ತಿಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದಷ್ಟು ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಓಕೆ, ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಹಕ್ಕಿಗಳು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತಲ್ಲ ಅಲ್ಲಿಗೆ, ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಇದು ಚಳಿಗಾಲ ಅಂದರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಮೈಗ್ರೇಟ್ರಿ ಬರ್ಡ್ಸು ನಿಮಗೆ ಭಾಳ ಬರುತ್ತೆ. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಮೈಸೂರು ಥರ ಅಲ್ಲ, ನಾರ್ತ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಕಲ್ಚರಲ್ ಆಸ್ಪೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಕ್ರಾಪ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ವೆದರ್ ಬೇರೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸೇರಿಕೊಂಡು ವಿಪರೀತ ಬರ್ತವೆ. ನಾರ್ತ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾನ್ ಬರ್ಬೋದು, ಹಿಮಾಲಯಿಂದ ಬರ್ಬೋದು, ಯುರೇಷಿಯಾ. ಸೊ ಭಾಳ ಡಿಫಿಕಲ್ಟ್ ಟು ಐಡೆಂಟಿಫೈ ಅವುಗಳನ್ನ. ನಮಗೆ ಕೆಲವು ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ನಾನೇನು ಮಾಡಿದೆ, ಒಂದು ಓಕೆ ಬ್ಯಾಗ್ ತೆಗೆದು ಸಲೀಮ್ ಅಲಿ ಬುಕ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ತೀವಿ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಸಲೀಮ್ ಅಲಿ ಬುಕ್ ನಮಗೆ ಒಂದು ರೀತಿ ಬೈಬಲ್ ಥರ. ನೋಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೆ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ನಾನು ತಿಮ್ಮಣ್ಣ ಬಂದು ನೋಡ್ದೆ, ಈ ಥರ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ನೋಡ್ತಾ ಏನು ಹಕ್ಕಿ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಂದೆ. ತಿಮ್ಮಣ್ಣ ತಿರ್ಗಾ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೋದ. ಹಿಂದ್ಗಡೆ ಒಂದು ಶೇಡ್ ಬಂದಂಗೆ ಆಯಿತು. ಅವನ ಹೆಸರು ಅಂಬರೀಷ ಅಂತ. ಅಂಬರೀಷ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಟ್ರ್ಯಾಕರಾಗಿ ಸೇರ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದ. ಅಂಬರೀಷ ನಾನು ನಿಮಗೆ ಡಿಸ್ಕ್ರಿಪ್ಷನ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟರೆ, ಅವನು ನೀವು ಮಸಾಯಿ ಟ್ರೈಬ್ಸ್ ನೋಡಿದಿರಲ್ಲ, ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ ಅವನು ಒಂದು 6-5 ಇದ್ದ, ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಕಪ್ಪಗಿದ್ದ, ಅಷ್ಟೇ ತಿನ್ನಗೂ ಇದ್ದ. ಅವನು ವೆರಿ ಇನ್ನೋಸೆಂಟ್ ಗಾಯ್. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್. ಅಂದರೆ ಅವನದು ವೆರಿ ಗುಡ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಅವನದು ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್ ಎಲ್ಲ, ಅವನದು ಕಸ್ಬೆ ಸಣ್ಣದು ಬೇಟೆ ಆಡೋದು, ಹಕ್ಕಿಗಳಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಮೊಲ ಹಿಡಿಬೋದು, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಳ ಥರೋ ಇದ್ದ. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಅವ್ನು ರಸ್ತೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ರೆ ಧೂಳಲ್ಲಿ, ಈಗ ಕಾಯಿಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಸಣ್ಣದು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಸ್ಪೀಸಿ ಇದೆ. ಅವನು ಯಾವ ಕಾಯಿಲ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಪತ್ತೆ ಮಾಡೋನು, ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಫುಡ್ಡಿಗೆ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್. ಹಕ್ಕಿ ಕಾಣಬೇಕಾಗಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಹಕ್ಕಿ ಹೆಜ್ಜೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿರೋದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಗೆ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಭಾಳ ಇಷ್ಟ ಆಗ್ತಾಯಿತ್ತು. ಒಂದು ಲಿಮಿಟೆಡ್ ಬಟ್ ಅಥೆಂಟಿಕ್ ನಾಲೆಡ್ಜ್. ಹಿಂಗೆ ಬಂದು ನಿಂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಪುಸ್ತಕ ನೋಡೋಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ದ. ನಾನು ಅರೆ ಇವನಿಗೇನಪ್ಪ ಇಷ್ಟು ಏನು ಅಂಬರೀಷ ಅಂದೆ. ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ದೆ, ನೋಡ್ತಾನೆ ಇದ್ದ, ಇದು ಹಕ್ಕಿಗಳನ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗುರ್ತಿಡಿಯೋಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ ಮಾಡಿರೋ ಪುಸ್ತಕ, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಇರ್ತವೆ ಅಂತ. ಕೈ ಕೊಟ್ವಿ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಪುಸ್ತಕನ. ವಾ, ಈ ಥರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್ ಅಂದ ಅವನು. ನಂಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಹೋಯ್ತು. ನಾನು ಓಕೆ, ಅಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಅವನು ಆಸಕ್ತಿ ತೋರಿಸ್ದ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಬುಕ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟೆ ಅವನಿಗೆ. ನಾನು ಹಿಂಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟೆ ಅಲ್ಲ ಬುಕ್ಕು, ಅವನು ಈ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಇಸ್ಕೊಂಡ. ಅವನು ಹಿಂಗೆ ನೋಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ದ ಬುಕ್ಕು. ಕತ್ತಿಂಗ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಹಿಂಗೆ ನೋಡೋದು, ಫುಲ್ ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋಕ್ಕೆ. ನನಗೆ ಭಾಳ ವಿಚಿತ್ರ ಅನಿಸ್ತದು. ಸೊ ಇಮಿಡಿಯೇಟ್ ತಿರ್ಗಾ ಸರಿ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಟ್ಟೆ. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ನೋಡು, ಒಳಗಡೆ ಇನ್ನೂ ಪಿಕ್ಚರ್ಸ್ ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಹಕ್ಕಿಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ ಅಂತ ತೋರ್ಸೋಕ್ಕೆ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಫೆಮಿಲಿಯರ್ ಆ ಈ ಸರೌಂಡಿಂಗಲ್ಲಿ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಪರಿಚಯ ಇರೋ ಹಕ್ಕಿಗಳಿರೋದು ಪಿಕ್ಚರನ್ನು ಒಂದು ಕೊಟ್ಟೆ ಅವನಿಗೆ, ಪೇಜ್ ತೆಗೆದು ಕೊಟ್ಟೆ. ಇವನು ನೋಡ್ದ, ಅವನಿಗೆ ನೋಡ್ತಾನೇ ಇದ್ದ ಅವನು. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೊತ್ತಿಗೆ ಬೆರಳಾಡ್ಸೋಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ದ ಅದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ, ಚಿತ್ರಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಬ್ಲೈಂಡ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟ ಅವನು, ಲಿಟ್ರಲಿ ಹಾಡು ಹೇಳಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ದ, ಹಕ್ಕಿಗಳ ಹೆಸರು ಹೇಳಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ದ. ಓ ಬೆಳವ ಅಂತ. ಅಂದರೆ ನಮ್ಮದು ರಿಂಗ್ ಡಾವ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಅದು ರಿಂಗ್ ಡಾವ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಬೂದಿ ಕಲರು, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಓ ಬೆಳವ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಹೀಗೆ ಸುಮಾರು ಸ್ಟೋರೀಸ್ ಹಕ್ಕಿಗಳ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಾಡು ಹೇಳಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ದ ಅವನು. ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಪೇಜ್ ಮುಂದೆ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗು ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಆಚೆ ಹೋದೆ. ಬಟ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಅವನು ಅದೇ ಪೇಜಲ್ಲೇ ಇದ್ದ. ನಾನು ಯಾಕೆ ಹಿಂಗೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ನೀನು ನೋಡ್ಬೋದಲ್ಲ ಈ ಕಡೆ ಅಂತ ನೋಡಿ ಹಿಂಗೆ ತೆಗಿಬೋದು ಅಂತ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದೆ, ಪುಟಗಳು ತಿರ್ಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ನೋಡ್ಬೇಕಂತ. ಕಲಿಸ್ಕೊಡೋಣ ಅಂತ ಅವನಿಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದೆ, ಹಿಂಗೆ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಅವನಿಗೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಪೇಜ್ ತೆಗಿಬೇಕಂದ್ರೆ ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ 30 ಪೇಜ್ ಆದಮೇಲೆ ಬರೋದು, ಅಥವಾ 40 ಪೇಜ್ ಒಂದು ಗ್ರಿಪ್ಪಲ್ಲಿ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದ ಅವನಿಗೆ. ನನಗೆ ಭಾಳ ಫೀಲ್ ಆಯ್ತು ನನಗೆ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಆ ಮೂಮೆಂಟಲ್ಲಿ. ನಾವು ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಿವಿಲೈಸ್ಡ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾವು ಭಾಳ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮುಂದುವರೆದಿದ್ದೀವಲ್ಲ, ಈಗ ಭಾಳ ಮುಂದುವರೆದಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಎಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವೀಗ ಮೂನಿಗೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ಏನೆಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮದು ಅಚೀವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಎಷ್ಟು ಭಾಳ ಮುಂದುವರೆದಿದೆ, ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಹೈವೇಸ್ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ, ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್. ಬಟ್ ಇಡೀ ನಮ್ಮದು ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿನ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋದಾಗ ಹ್ಯೂಮನ್ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿನೇ ಅದೇ ಥರ ಇದೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ನಾವು ಅಕ್ಷರನೇ ಕೆಲವರಿಗೆ ನಿರಾಕರಿಸ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇವಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಅಕ್ಷರ ಕೆಲವರಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಕೊಟ್ಟೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ನನಗೆ ಈಗ ಅಂಬರೀಷ್ ಇದಾನಲ್ಲ, ಅಂಬರೀಷ್ ಇದ್ದು ನನಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಫೀಲ್ ಆಗೋಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಆಯ್ತು ಅಂತಂದರೆ, ರಿಯಲಿ ಐ ಫೆಲ್ಟ್ ಬ್ಯಾಡ್. ನನ್ನ ಹತ್ರ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗಲ್ಲ. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಭಾಳ ಅನ್ಫಾರ್ಚುನೇಟ್ ಅನಿಸ್ತು. ಯಾಕಂದರೆ ಅವನು ಕೆಲವು ಹಕ್ಕಿಗಳನ್ನ ಫೋಕಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದ. ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ನೀವು ಇದನ್ನು ಪಿಕ್ಚರೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಒಂದು ಪಿಕ್ಚರು ಒಂದು ಪ್ರೇ ಬರ್ದು, ಅಂದರೆ ಒಂದು 10 ಜಾತಿದು ತೋರಿಸಿದೆ. ಅವನಿಗೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿತ್ತದು, ಅವನಿಗೆ ನೋಡು ಈ ಹಕ್ಕಿ ಇದು ಅಂತ ನೋಡ್ದ ಒಂದೇ ಸಲ. ನೋಡಿ ಇಮಿಡಿಯೇಟ್ ಅವನು ಒಂದು ಹಾಡು ಹೇಳ್ದ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ, ಕಾವಲು ಹಕ್ಕಿ ಕಾವು, ಕಾವಲಿ ಮೇಲೆ ಕಾವು ಅಂತ. ಅಂದರೆ ಕಾವಲು ಅಂದರೆ ಗಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಾ ಬರ್ಡ್, ಕೇರ್ಫುಲ್, ನಿಂದು ಪ್ಯಾನ್ ಹೀಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ. ಓಕೆ, ಇದೊಂದು ಲಾವಣಿ ಥರ. ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಟ್ಯಾಲೆಂಟ್ಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ನಮಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ದಂಗೆ ನಾವು ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಅದಂಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀವಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ನಮ್ಮದು ಒಂದು ಮಣ್ಣಿನ ವಾಸನೆ ಇರೋ ಲಿಟ್ರೇಚರು, ಇವೆಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ ಅಕ್ಷರಗಳಿದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ರಿಚಾಗಿ ಎಮರ್ಜ್ ಆಗ್ಬೋದಾಗಿತ್ತು ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ನನಗೆ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನಾಚಿಕೆ ಆಯಿತು. ಕಡೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಐ ಫೆಲ್ಟ್ ವೆರಿ ಬ್ಯಾಡ್. ಆವಾಗ ನನಗೆ ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಸ್ಪಾಂಟೇನಿಯಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಆ ಸಾಲ್ ಬಂತು ನನಗೆ, ಕಷ್ಟದ ದುಡಿಮೆಯನ್ನಷ್ಟೇ ಬಲ್ಲ ಅಂಬರೀಷನ ಬೆರಳುಗಳಿಗೆ ತೆಳ್ಳನೆಯ ಹಾಳೆಗಳು ದಕ್ಕಲೇ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸರ್. ಭಾಳ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾಗಿ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ ಅದನ್ನು. ಟೈಮ್
ಶುಭ ಕನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದಳೆ. ಗೌರವ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ 8:15. ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ 8:15. ಸೊ
ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಾ? ಅಲ್ಲ, ನಾವಿನ್ನೂ ಕನ್ಕ್ಲೂಡ್ ಮಾಡಿಲ್ಲ. ಓಕೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮೊದಲು ಒಂದು ನಮಸಂಗದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ.
I just have one or two questions, Shubha, and after that we'll conclude. Okay, this is about Namasanga, and right, just when your career was booming and you were about to sign a big contract with National Geographic, at that crucial juncture you kick-started a huge conservation effort on the borders of the Bandipur forest called Namasanga, which demanded a lot of your time and effort. Don't you think it was a diversion from your project that you were doing, the first project, Wild Dog Diaries?
First of all, we did not know it is going to become this big. The second thing is, we as I told you, we were on foot most of the time. We were seeing the ground level problems, and we were seeing the forest from very, very close range. When we could see a lot of things going wrong there, and the degradation was really very fast. And sometimes the ecosystem, when it goes beyond certain limits, it might never be able to recover, never be able to revive. The rejuvenation efforts, whatever you do later, might not work at all. So we took up one small problem and we wanted to address only that. But that had many other dimensions which we did not go on explaining to people. So basically the thing was, it was not just about firewood collection. We did a basic survey. So Bandipur border is almost around 200 kilometers range. 1 second. So it's almost 200 kilometers border. We have more than 200 villages all along. And almost 5,000 people would go into the forest every day to collect firewood. Firewood was not just the problem, because a lot of youngsters were getting involved in this. So they were also losing the fear of the forest and fear of the forest department as well. So this was leading them to take more and more, become more and more adventurous. Like they were getting into more illegal activities. They started stealing kills. They started stealing teakwood and rosewood, and they were getting involved in poaching also. So a whole lot of one big generation of youngsters, because around Bandipura and around all the national parks, a lot of resorts were coming up, a lot of development activities happening. So demand for firewood was going up. So these people were making money, a shortcut money through this, and then they were getting into more and more illegal activities. So they were not developing any other skill. So it was becoming very dangerous. We had come in contact with a lot of youngsters at that time. So we got a survey done. In that, the numbers which came out were simply stunning, shocking, in fact. So almost 350,000 kgs of firewood was going out of Bandipur National Park every day. And at least 35,000 people were directly depending on the forest. That is one thing. Another thing is Bandipur itself is a part of the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. If I start talking about the importance of Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, it might again breach all the things. So I'll just stop at this. So it was important to start at that stage. So we could not wait further. So degradation we were seeing from very close range, and it was happening very fast. So we had to take action. So at that time, a lot of my close friends and scientists, and with a lot of concern, they told us, why are you getting diverted? A lot of people have tried this and failed all over India. Governments have tried, NGOs have tried, with big money and big corporate money they have tried. Everything has failed. Why are you getting into all this? Especially when your career is just taking off like this. So it is not wise, they were saying. But we had decided, it was an urge, we just went ahead, because one of the officers who had come there was very young. The DCF who had come there was very young, and he was ready to take any amount of chance and put in any amount of time on it. And that was the right time, we thought, to start. So he was with us. So we worked with the system. We could work with the system. We were not just standing away from the system and blaming the system. So we thought we should work with the system, and that was the right moment to start, and we had to do it. So we'll conclude.
So can I just conclude with that visual, or
let them take
okay.
No, I think we have to.
Okay.
Krupakar and Senani, since 45 years, I am reading your articles. And I have observed that in the beginning, you used to write on the birds, and later to the wildlife, then now into the wild dogs, and later into this environment. I really appreciate your concern with regard to the assessment of environmental impact, number one. Number two, it's a pleasure to see you, because we feel a cool breeze wherever we see you, a cool breeze from the forest. And because nowadays we see that the corporates like Godrej and Ambani, they split How is your friendship since 45 years has been bonded up? What made you to work together? That's my question.
I think you need some of the catalysts, like you need to have fame, a lot of money, or so that you will not be able to share. You don't want to share and you split. So if you don't have anything, you don't need to worry about it.
ಜೊತೆಗೆ ನಮ್ಮಿಬ್ಬರಿಗೂ ಆ ಜಗಳ ಆಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಟೈಮ್ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ.
Hi, my name. First of all, I'm asking this as a sustainability professional myself. So you spoke today a lot about community conservation and native lifestyle. So UN has taken this as the decade of ecological restoration. That's the only way we can. There is a chance of protecting all the ecosystems across the world. So what is your take on community conservation and using the native lifestyle into adding that into conservation? What is your take on that? I just wanted to understand that.
You're talking about a country which has around 150 crore people. Where do we have the space? So see, we have come down to such a stage that we have very small pockets of forest. It's already completely fragmented. So there's not much scope for community reserves. You have to create new reserves for the community reserves, which is not possible. We have no space to give away. People are not ready to give 1 inch to the wildlife or anything. So we have lost that opportunity. This should have been done at least 50, 60 years back. But sir, you said 45 years, not so much, maybe 25 years.
There's a question from one of our YouTube viewers. They're asking us, what do you think of the rush to the forests now and the craze today for wildlife photography?
Actually, we have to look at the bigger picture. So, a lot of city people complain about tourism and wildlife photographers and going out of hand. But when we look at the bigger pictures, we are losing lakhs of acres. Like in Amazon forest, we had fire before last year or so. In Indonesia, there's extensive fire. They are fantastic virgin forests. And they are in fact triggering climate change. They're speeding up the climate change. That is a bigger problem. So those are manipulated by bigger corporate lobbies. They're all completely, most of them are man-made. And that is controlled by corporate lobbies of the very, very big countries. But they are not realizing what they are doing there will affect their son, will affect their children very soon. Because the climate change is really quickening up. You are not observing it because you are not writing down, even in Coorg, they are not writing down the frequency and the pattern of rainfall. They are just writing down the quantity of rainfall. That might remain the same, but the frequency and the this thing is completely. That is where you are seeing a lot of landslides and things. The human development is also there, but this is actually one of the major causes of climate change again. So there's a much bigger problem. So it's not worth wasting your time on tourism. Tourism, say in Bandipur, it is around 1,000 square kilometers. Only in 80 square kilometers, tourism is done. Even in Nagarole, it's around 120 square kilometers of tourism zone is left. There will be some amount of disturbance. But the whole concept of ecotourism is, the concept is correct. Execution might be wrong. Concept is to siphon out the money from the national parks without harming the ecosystem. And siphon out the money and provide something to the villages around the national park, which is not actually happening, but the basic concept is right. So it's not really worth discussing about the hazards of tourism. It's not at a hazard. When we look at the bigger picture, suddenly this will become one small Gauna.
So there's a last question. How do you see tribals playing a major role in preserving the forest? Or even the government these days want to take away the tribals from their mainland and they want to mainstream them into the city areas. So
it's a similar question to community reserves. Community reserve is the same concept. Like in Africa, they have a lot of community reserves because they can afford that space. The problem is, the problem is we don't have that amount of space, and we have lost that opportunity. That is where, while doing Namasanga, that is what we thought. We should not lose this opportunity. If it goes beyond certain things, we cannot look back. Tribals, 100% they deserve a better space. But unfortunately, we have gone to such an extent, it's very difficult for us to create a space for them. At the same time, some of the tribes we know of from very close range, they're basically hunter-gatherers. Even if you provide them land outside the forest, it will take generations for them to adopt to agrarian lifestyle. Because you will have to wait the whole year to get the money at the end of the day. These people just live that day. They are the happiest people. But today, in today's concept, they're absolutely right. But in today's context, they are going absolute. So it's very, very unfortunate. But a country like India is very difficult. In fact, more cruel things are happening. Like some of the tribal communities are brought out of forest in the name of converting it into national parks. And then after just a year or so, they are denotified and given to mining companies. So more cruel things are happening. There are bigger, sinner things are happening. Unfortunately, tribes are suffering. At the same time, tribes all over the world, it is seen again and again, when they are exposed to the outside world, they become addicts. Probably it is even genetic. All over the world it is observed. Everywhere. You take Sahel regions of Sahara, wherever they are rehabilitated and things like that. It's all happening out of the greed of few people. We are losing a lot of land because of greed, not even because of greed and ignorance. So this question is a very tricky question. Our country is very difficult to create space.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sashikala and I'm a member of the book clubs. And it is my pleasant duty to wrap up this literature festival. It's been such a pleasure to listen to all of you, Krupakar and Senani. You were poetic, philosophical. At times you brought tears. And I think in today's context, having that balance between industrialization, giving opportunity and preserving the pristine forest, the little forest that we have. You brought out these points very beautifully. Thank you to the moderators too for bringing out the best in them. The 5th Mysuru Literature Festival started on October 16th and today is the finale. Our appreciation to all our panelists who gave us so much to take away and the sessions moderated so well. To ensure the authors spoke on a variety of perceptions and opinions. A special thank you to our book club members who were our moderators, Maithili Rao, Sita Bhaskar, and Jayashree Jagannatha for doing such a good job. Thanks to the trustees of the Mysuru Literature Forum Charitable Trust, sponsors and well-wishers. We operate on a not-for-profit model while conducting the Literature Festival. The one-man army tech support, Aryaman M. Ars, currently doing undergrad studies at Rutgers University, USA, a very talented young man who managed the social media, YouTube, Facebook, editing video recordings, moderating questions in the chat box during the sessions, writing articles for the media, sending Zoom details and trial runs for the panelists, sending bulk emails a day before and on the day of the sessions to all those who registered. These are not easy things to do, and it is quite a stupendous task. We are extremely thankful to Ariman, and we wish him all the very best in future too. The young adult book club members, in particular Sharath, Sanjita, and Aisiri. Shubha, the director of this festival, she works frenetically behind the scenes, and magically things unfold. Knowing her, the neurons in her brains must be crackling to plan the 6th Literature Festival coming up next year. Thank you, Shubha, for giving us all such a remarkable experience. Thanks to the press for their prompt coverage, Manoj and team for the video, Mast Mysore for handling the website, Chetan for the mic, and Sridhar the photography. Each and every member of our audience here, from our book clubs and those from all over the world, thank you for your participation, your questions, and your response. Books are on sale, so do take a look. Those by Krupakar and Senani, you can get them autographed straight away. So friends, until the next Literature Festival, have a safe and happy Deepavali, good night, and happy reading. Thank you.
Can I have everybody's attention? Thank you, Kanntharaj, and thank you, Dinesh, for this wonderful moderating. And I've known Senani and Krupakar probably from the day of my birth, but what I heard today here is something so amazing. They're doing such phenomenal job. I don't think what talk they did here today is enough. We have to have them back in our offline literature festival where, we actually have the entire Mysore coming and they have to hear you guys. This is not enough. So I'm leaving the responsibility on Kanntharaj to get you both back, because I know, knowing Senani, he's just going to go out there and tell him, So, okay. So, this is from all the book club members and from the trustees. I'm asking them that they have to come back. It is not just for them to come back here and talk. It is for the world to wake up and see what our Mysoreans are doing to save so much of environment. It is for that. Thank you all so much.